What if I told you that the key to achieving your dreams isn't about finding motivation or waiting for the perfect moment? What if the secret to success was something far simpler, yet far more powerful? Imagine working toward your goals without ever considering quitting, no matter how hard things get. What if quitting wasn't an option at all? In a world full of distractions and constant setbacks, the ability to persist through challenges could be the very thing that sets you apart from everyone else. If you're ready to learn how to make quitting a non-option and develop the mental toughness needed to achieve your goals, keep reading. This isn't just another productivity hack. It's a mindset shift that could change everything. Why you need consistency and how to stay committed no matter what. We've all experienced the excitement and energy that come with starting a new project or setting a new goal. At first, everything seems fresh and motivating. However, after a few days, that initial spark often fades, and difficulties, challenges, and distractions start to arise. Instead of pushing through, many of us tend to give up or change goals when things get tough. This is the core reason why so many people fail to maintain consistency and ultimately don't achieve long-term results. Consistency isn't easy, but it's key to changing your life. Unlike the initial excitement, consistency requires showing up day after day, even when there's no applause, no visible progress, and no immediate reward. It's easy to give up during the tough or boring days, but it's exactly those moments that build the solid foundation for achieving your goals. If you can push through these periods, you will come to realize that it is not the big wins or flashy moments that count, but rather the quiet persistence behind the scenes. Consistency doesn't come from motivation. It comes from a strong decision. Many people mistakenly believe that in order to be consistent, they need a constant surge of motivation. However, motivation alone is not enough. What truly sustains consistency is the ability to make a firm decision and stick to it, regardless of how you feel. If you keep changing your goals or plans every time a challenge arises, you will never see lasting results. True consistency comes from a firm, non-negotiable decision. It's not about constantly being excited, but about committing fully and not changing your mind just because something gets difficult. The first step to consistency is making a decision you don't change. The key to maintaining consistency is to stop continuously making decisions. Instead of constantly switching goals or strategies, make one solid decision and stick to it. Don't just try or say, let's see how it goes. Those are temporary thoughts, not real commitments. Real decisions lock you in, even when things get uncomfortable. If you don't make that firm decision, you'll always be caught in the cycle of starting and stopping. Think about how much time you've already spent switching goals, changing plans, or starting over. If you've ever set a fitness goal in January, only to abandon it in February, or picked up a business idea only to lose interest soon after, you're likely not fully committed. The key problem is that you never truly decided. You thought about it, but you didn't decide. Real decisions are tough. They require commitment, but that's exactly what you need to build consistency. Consistency doesn't rely on motivation or mood. It relies on structure. Consistency comes not from motivation, but from structure. And structure begins with a decision that remains constant, even when emotions fluctuate. Emotions are unpredictable. They can shift dramatically from one moment to the next. But a solid decision is your anchor. It's the one thing you can hold on to when everything else feels unstable. When you decide something and truly commit, you stop negotiating with your own weaknesses. You stop running from responsibility and distractions, and you stop looking for excuses. When you make a real decision, something powerful shifts inside of you. You stop questioning whether what you've committed to is the right thing. You simply show up, day in and day out, for what you decided. That's how you build consistency. It's not complicated, but it is uncomfortable. This is where most people fall short. They quit the moment they face resistance or lose excitement. They get discouraged, thinking they should try something else. The cycle begins again, and they end up back at square one. Consistency requires discipline, not excitement. When you quit because something feels uncomfortable, or when you stop simply because you're not motivated anymore, you are undermining your own progress. Every time you quit, you lose a bit of self-respect and confidence. Deep down, you start to believe you're the type of person who doesn't finish things. This belief becomes part of your identity, and identity drives behavior. Every time you back out of a commitment, you reinforce the idea that you can't follow through. Eventually, when you try to commit again, your mind reminds you, remember, we've been here before. You quit last time, and you'll probably quit again. That voice gets louder every time you prove it right. But one firm decision can change your life, not just your habits, but your entire self-image. When you make a decision and protect it every day, you stop compromising, making excuses, or delaying your progress. Even when you're tired or tempted to skip the work, you protect your decision. That's how consistency is built, not through motivation, but through decision-making and the discipline to follow through, day after day. Consistency doesn't come from waiting for the perfect moment. It's easy to think that consistency is only possible when everything is perfect. When we feel motivated, when we have the time, or when the circumstances align perfectly. But the truth is, if you only act when you feel ready, you'll spend your life waiting. Success doesn't care how you feel. It rewards action, no matter how uncertain or uncomfortable it is. Many people never start their most important work because they're waiting for the perfect moment. But the perfect moment rarely comes. You have to take action before you feel ready. That's where the magic happens. The more you move, the more you develop resilience, discipline, and the belief that you can handle whatever comes your way. You find your rhythm by moving forward, not by sitting back and waiting for motivation to strike. The real power comes from taking action, not waiting for motivation. When you act before you feel ready, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than fear, doubt, and hesitation. You take control of the situation instead of letting it control you. By acting despite fear or uncertainty, you're building something real. You're creating momentum, and momentum is the foundation of consistency. You don't need more plans, more ideas, or more time. What you need is a clear decision and the discipline to follow through on that decision, regardless of how you feel in the moment. That's how real change happens, That's how you build the life you want, through consistency, structure, and the unwavering decision to keep going, even when no one is clapping for you. How to stay committed and move forward, even when you don't feel ready. In life, there's always a tendency to wait for the perfect moment before taking action. We often tell ourselves, I'll start once I feel more confident, or I'll wait until I have everything in place. However, the truth is that perfection is a trap, and it prevents you from making real progress. If you only take action when everything feels right, you'll spend most of your life stuck in a state of preparation, waiting for something that may never come. The key to building consistency and achieving your goals lies in starting before you feel ready. Readiness is a myth. Many people fall into the trap of waiting until they feel 100% ready, believing that only then can they perform their best work. But this is a dangerous mindset because readiness is not something that magically appears before you begin. Instead, readiness is something you build as you take action, as you encounter challenges, and as you work through the discomfort that inevitably comes with growth. Every time you delay a task, thinking that you need more time or preparation, you waste valuable opportunities. The real truth is that clarity and confidence only come through action. The more you wait, the more you hold yourself back. It's like standing on the edge of a diving board, waiting for the perfect moment to jump, while the clock keeps ticking. The perfect moment never comes. The only way to move forward is to leap into the unknown and trust that you'll figure it out along the way. Growth happens in discomfort. Taking action before you feel ready is where real growth happens. Yes, it will feel uncomfortable, and yes, you'll face moments of doubt. But these moments are essential. Discomfort is a sign that you're pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone, and that's where growth takes place. If you only ever do what feels easy, you'll never achieve anything significant. It's not about avoiding discomfort. It's about learning to move through it. Growth and change are messy. They don't happen in neatly packaged, comfortable moments. They come when you're willing to act in the face of uncertainty, when you push through resistance, and when you're able to take the next step even though the outcome is uncertain. When you push yourself to act before you feel ready, you prove to yourself that you are capable of handling challenges, no matter how daunting they seem. This builds resilience. The more you act, the more you develop the mental toughness needed to continue despite uncertainty. Every action you take, no matter how small, creates momentum. And momentum is a powerful force. It makes things easier over time. The importance of taking small steps. Starting is the hardest part. But once you begin, you don't need to have everything figured out. The key is to take small steps. Instead of trying to solve everything at once, break your goals down into manageable tasks and tackle them one by one. Each small action builds upon the last, and before you know it, you've made significant progress. The beauty of starting before you're ready is that you begin to learn as you go. You don't need to have the entire roadmap laid out in front of you. You only need to know the next step. Focus on that and keep moving forward. Each small win will build your confidence. And as you experience progress, you'll begin to feel more capable of taking on bigger challenges. It's important to remember that perfection doesn't exist. You're not going to feel 100% ready, and that's okay. In fact, if you wait for everything to line up perfectly, you may never take action at all. There will always be doubts, uncertainties, and moments when it seems like things aren't going the way you planned. But that's all part of the journey. You don't need everything to be perfect. You just need to get started. Clarity comes after you begin. One of the most powerful aspects of taking action before feeling ready is that clarity follows action. When you start moving toward your goal, you begin to gain insights, make adjustments, and figure out what works and what doesn't. As you continue to act, you learn, adapt, and improve. The process of taking action will reveal the next steps, and clarity will come along the way. Waiting for clarity or the perfect plan is a surefire way to keep yourself stuck. If you wait for the ideal moment, you'll be in a constant state of planning, but never actually making progress. The moment you start acting, the fog of uncertainty begins to clear, and you'll start seeing the path forward more clearly. Taking action forces you to confront the challenges head on and come up with solutions as you go. Overcoming fear and doubt. One of the biggest barriers to taking action before you feel ready is fear. Fear of failure, fear of not being good enough, or fear of not knowing what will happen next. But fear doesn't have to control you. It's a natural part of the human experience, especially when you're stepping into the unknown. The key is to act despite the fear. When you act, even when you feel scared or unsure, you prove to yourself that you can handle fear. You build confidence by taking that first step, even when you're not sure what lies ahead. The more you act in the face of fear, the easier it becomes to do so in the future. Fear starts to lose its grip on you because you've trained yourself to take action despite it. The power of taking action. At the core of all success is the ability to act, even when you don't feel ready. Action is what separates the dreamers from the doers. The people who achieve their goals are the ones who don't wait for everything to be perfect. They understand that progress is made through consistent action, no matter how small or uncertain. They don't wait for motivation or the right moment. They simply take the next step and keep going. Consistency is not about waiting for the perfect conditions. It's about making a commitment and following through, no matter what. The more you act, the more you build your ability to handle challenges and move through discomfort. Over time, taking action will become second nature, and the process of achieving your goals will feel much more natural and less intimidating. Conclusion. Start now, even if you don't feel ready. The bottom line is this: you can't wait for everything to be perfect before you start working toward your goals. You have to take action, even if you're not ready. Growth doesn't happen in the waiting, it happens in the doing. So, stop waiting for the perfect moment. It doesn't exist. Take the next step. Even if you're scared or uncertain, you'll figure it out along the way. And as you build momentum, you'll become more capable, more resilient, and more confident. The key is to start now and let the journey unfold as you go. How to act immediately and stop procrastination before it takes control. Every time you set out to do something important, especially something that could have a significant impact on your life, you face a familiar challenge: hesitation. It's that moment when you know you should take action, but your mind starts filling with reasons not to. You may feel too tired, uncertain, or unsure of the outcome. This hesitation, if not addressed immediately, can lead to procrastination and missed opportunities. The key to building consistency is to act before your mind talks you out of it. This means taking immediate action when an idea or task comes to mind without giving your brain the chance to create excuses. It's about defeating procrastination before it even has the chance to take hold. Let's break down why this works and how you can train yourself to act quickly. Procrastination, the enemy of progress. We've all experienced the feeling of needing to get something done, but instead of diving into the task, we procrastinate. Maybe we tell ourselves, "I'll do it later," or "I just need a little more time." The problem with procrastination is that it creates a delay that makes it harder to get started. The longer we delay, the stronger the excuses become. Before long, we've convinced ourselves that we'll get to it eventually, but eventually never comes. This delay is a major hindrance to achieving goals and building consistency. The mind naturally resists discomfort, and the moment you decide to do something difficult, your brain starts searching for reasons to avoid it. If you give your mind enough time, it will find every excuse in the book. You're too tired, it's not the right time, or maybe you'll do it tomorrow. These excuses can be powerful, but they can be defeated if you act quickly before your brain has the chance to overpower you with doubt. The importance of immediate action. The moment you hesitate, you allow procrastination to take over. It's important to recognize that hesitation is a decision in itself. It's the decision to not act right away. But what happens when you choose to act immediately? You take control of the situation, bypassing the mental resistance that would otherwise slow you down. Taking immediate action has several benefits. First, it interrupts the cycle of procrastination. When you take action, you break the pattern of waiting and hesitating. It's like making a commitment to yourself and following through instantly. Second, immediate action helps you build momentum. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes to start. But once you begin, it becomes easier to keep going. You gain confidence with each step, and the task at hand starts to feel more manageable. How to break the cycle of hesitation. It can be difficult to break the cycle of hesitation, but the solution is simpler than you might think. Act before you think. This means making a choice to start right now, without waiting for the perfect moment. The more you practice acting without hesitation, the easier it becomes to move through tasks quickly and effectively. One of the best ways to defeat hesitation is to limit the time you spend thinking about a task. When an idea comes to mind or a task needs to be completed, don't give yourself time to analyze it or find reasons not to do it. Instead, take immediate action. Even if it's just a small step, taking action right away sets the tone for your productivity. For example, if you plan to exercise but feel tired or distracted, don't think about it for too long. Just put on your workout clothes and take that first step. Once you've started, the rest will follow naturally. If you're planning to write something but are unsure of where to begin, Start typing anything that comes to mind. It doesn't matter if it's perfect at first. It's more important that you begin the process. Building new patterns, creating a habit of action. When you force yourself to act immediately, you create a new habit. Habits are powerful because they remove the need for decision-making. Once something becomes a habit, it requires much less effort to complete. For example, if you get into the habit of acting on ideas as soon as they arise, you'll stop second-guessing yourself or waiting for the right moment. In the beginning, it may feel uncomfortable or unnatural, especially if you're used to procrastinating. But the more you practice taking immediate action, the more automatic it becomes. You'll notice that your brain begins to resist hesitation. It will feel strange to delay tasks, and you'll find yourself getting things done faster and with less mental resistance. The power of small actions. One of the most important aspects of immediate action is that it doesn't have to be big. You don't need to tackle the entire project or goal at once. Small actions are enough to break the cycle of procrastination. For example, if you want to start writing a book, don't think about the whole book. Start by writing one sentence. If you're working on a fitness goal, don't focus on completing the whole workout. Just do one exercise. The key is to get started, no matter how small the first step is. Once you begin, you'll often find that the task becomes easier and more enjoyable. The initial action is the hardest part, but once you break through that barrier, the task becomes more manageable. Shifting the focus from thinking to doing. Another powerful technique for overcoming hesitation is shifting your focus from thinking about the task to actually doing it. Our minds often try to sabotage us by overthinking every detail. We second-guess ourselves and question whether we're making the right choice. But overthinking often leads to inaction. It's important to remind yourself that action is the only way to make progress. If you catch yourself overthinking, refocus your attention on doing. Start moving. Take that first step, even if it feels uncomfortable. This act of doing will help you shift from a state of hesitation to one of productivity. Over time, the habit of focusing on action rather than thought will become ingrained in your behavior. Building confidence through action. When you start taking action without hesitation, you'll notice a boost in your confidence. Confidence comes from competence, and competence is built through practice. As you start completing tasks and achieving small victories, your belief in your ability to follow through grows. You'll stop doubting yourself and start to trust that you can handle whatever comes your way. Every time you act before you think, you reinforce the belief that you can get things done. The more you take action, the more your confidence grows. This, in turn, leads to greater consistency in your work. The more consistent you are, the more you'll accomplish, and the less likely you'll be to procrastinate in the future. Conclusion: don't wait for motivation. Act now. In the end, consistency and success come from taking immediate action, not waiting for motivation. Motivation can be fleeting, but action is what leads to results. If you want to break free from procrastination, make a habit of acting before your brain talks you out of it. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Create the moment by taking action now. Small steps lead to big results. And by acting immediately, you'll build the momentum you need to stay on track and achieve your goals. How to respect your goals and take consistent action. One of the most important factors in achieving long-term success is treating your goals with the respect they deserve. Too often, we set goals or intentions, but treat them as optional, giving them little priority in our daily lives. If you want to build consistency and achieve meaningful results, you must stop treating your goals like casual thoughts and start treating them like commitments that truly matter. The problem with casual goals. It's easy to say you want something and even write it down on paper or share it with others, but when you don't treat that goal with the respect it deserves, it becomes just another fleeting desire. Most people make the mistake of treating their goals casually, thinking that they can always put them off until later or work on them only when it's convenient. But this approach is doomed to fail because real change requires consistent effort, even when it's not exciting or comfortable. Think about the goals you've set in the past. How many times have you said, "This year I'm going to get fit," only to fall off track after a few weeks? Or how many times have you started a new project with enthusiasm, only to abandon it once the initial excitement wore off? This pattern of starting and stopping happens when you don't truly respect your goals. When goals aren't respected, they become negotiable. You allow yourself to put them aside, make excuses, or delay action. Goals are not optional. When you respect your goals, you understand that they are not optional. They are promises you make to yourself, and promises should never be broken. If you treat your goals like something that can be pushed aside for other distractions, then you'll never make real progress. Goals require discipline, commitment, and a level of seriousness that cannot be undermined by temporary feelings of inconvenience or discomfort. Respecting your goals means showing up for them, even on days when you don't feel like it. It means working towards them when no one is watching and when you don't feel particularly motivated. It's about keeping your promises to yourself and proving that you are worthy of the success you seek. If you constantly push your goals to the side or treat them like hobbies, you'll never build the consistency necessary to reach them. Treat your goals like non-negotiable commitments. The way you treat your goals reflects how much they truly mean to you. If your goals are non-negotiable, your actions will align with them. You won't allow distractions, laziness, or excuses to deter you. You'll commit to the work that needs to be done and keep showing up, even when the excitement fades or the progress seems slow. Treating your goals like commitments means prioritizing them. It's about making space for them in your daily life, no matter what. If your goal is to get fit, it means scheduling your workouts and sticking to them, even if you're tired or don't feel like it. If your goal is to launch a business, it means setting aside time each day to work on your business plan, even when other things demand your attention. When your goals become non-negotiable, you eliminate the need for constant motivation. Instead, you rely on the structure you've created, and that structure becomes the foundation for your consistency. How to make your goals a priority. To start respecting your goals, you must make them a priority in your life. Ask yourself, how much space do your goals occupy in your daily routine? If they aren't showing up in your actions every day, then it's time to reevaluate how seriously you are taking them. If your goals are important to you, they need to be reflected in your actions and decisions. Start by identifying what truly matters to you and why. Then, align your daily habits and routines to reflect those priorities. If you value health, prioritize exercise and meal planning. If you value career growth, set aside time each day to focus on learning, networking, or skill building. The more you respect your goals, the more you'll see them reflected in the choices you make every day. The consequences of ignoring your goals. When you treat your goals with respect, you honor your future. On the other hand, when you neglect them or treat them like afterthoughts, you send the message to yourself that your dreams aren't worthy of your time and effort. This erodes your self-confidence and lowers your standards. Over time, you begin to accept mediocrity and make excuses for why your goals aren't happening. Respecting your goals means holding yourself accountable, even when things get tough. It means not letting temporary setbacks derail you. Every time you show up for your goals, you strengthen your belief in your ability to follow through. Every time you push past distractions and excuses, you prove to yourself that you can do hard things. But if you neglect your goals, you undermine your self-respect, and that makes it even harder to take consistent action. How to build self-respect by consistently showing up. Self-respect is built by showing up for your goals, even on the tough days. It's about doing the work, even when you don't feel like it. Each time you push through a challenging task or resist the urge to procrastinate, you build your self-respect. When you consistently honor your goals, you begin to trust yourself more. You stop doubting your ability to follow through, and that trust becomes a powerful motivator to keep going. The more you respect your goals and the effort required to achieve them, the more your self-confidence will grow. The act of consistently doing what you said you would do strengthens your belief in your own capabilities. It creates a positive feedback loop that reinforces your commitment and builds momentum toward achieving your goals. Guard your goals against distractions. In a world filled with distractions, it's easy to lose sight of what truly matters. You might feel the pull of social media, entertainment, or other less important tasks that steal your time and energy. But when you respect your goals, you learn how to guard them from these distractions. You create a mental boundary that protects your focus and keeps you on track. Part of respecting your goals is setting boundaries with your time. This means saying no to things that don't align with your values or priorities. It's about being disciplined enough to say no to distractions, even when they seem appealing. When you guard your time and energy, you're actively choosing to prioritize your goals and your future. Start respecting your goals. Today, if you want to see real change in your life, start treating your goals with the respect they deserve. Make them non-negotiable and show up for them every single day. Your actions should reflect your priorities, and your goals should always be at the top of that list. When you treat your goals with respect, you send a clear message to yourself that you are worthy of success and that you are committed to doing the work, no matter how challenging it may seem. Consistency isn't just about showing up. It's about showing up with purpose. Treat your goals with the seriousness they deserve, and you'll see that the results will come. It may not happen overnight, But with each day you respect your goals, you're building a foundation for lasting change. Your future self will thank you for it. The power of turning your goals into rules, not wishes. Many people dream of achieving great things in their lives, but they struggle to make those dreams a reality because they treat their goals as mere wishes. They hope for success, wish for improvement, and desire better habits, but they don't take the necessary steps to make those changes stick. The problem lies in how they view their goals. Goals cannot just be wishes or vague desires. They need to be treated like rules, non-negotiable commitments that govern your actions every single day. Why wishes aren't enough. Wishing for something to happen is not a strategy. You can wish all you want for better health, a successful career, or a stronger work ethic. But wishing alone won't make those things materialize. The reason why many people fall short of their goals is that they treat them like something they hope to achieve someday, rather than something they must do, regardless of their mood or circumstances. The difference between wishing and creating a rule is clear. When something is a wish, it's optional. When it's a rule, it's mandatory. If you say, "I hope to exercise more," it leaves room for excuses. You might think, "I'll exercise tomorrow when I feel better," or "maybe next week will be a better time." But when exercise becomes a rule, it's no longer up for negotiation. You do it because it's part of your daily routine. Rules create structure and discipline. When you start treating your goals like rules, you begin to create structure in your life. Rules don't bend or break based on your emotions or the way you feel on any given day. They are fixed, firm, and dependable. Whether it's waking up early, working out, eating healthy, or building a business. If you set it as a rule, it becomes a cornerstone of your daily routine. The beauty of this approach is that it takes away the need for constant decision-making. When something is a rule, you don't have to decide each day whether or not you will do it. You already know the answer. The decision has been made, and now it's just about following through. For example, if one of your goals is to read more books, you might start by telling yourself, "I will read for 30 minutes every morning." But if reading is just a wish, you'll likely find reasons not to do it. However, when you make reading a rule, it becomes part of your daily ritual, and you can't skip it without breaking your own personal code. The power of consistency. Through rules. Rules lead to consistency because they don't rely on emotions or motivation. Motivation fluctuates. Some days you'll feel excited and energized, while other days you'll feel lazy or distracted. If you only act based on motivation, you'll end up being inconsistent. But when you make your goals non-negotiable rules, you act regardless of how you feel. Think about other areas of your life where you already follow rules. You don't show up to work late every day because you don't feel like it. You don't skip important appointments just because you're tired. You follow rules without thinking twice. Treating your personal goals in the same way will ensure that you stay consistent and make real progress. How to turn your goals into rules. To turn your goals into rules, you need to create clear, actionable commitments that don't leave room for excuses. Here's how you can start. Decide what matters most to you. Start by identifying the goals that truly matter. These are the goals that align with your values and the life you want to live. Once you've pinpointed what matters, it's time to make these goals a priority. 2. Set specific rules. Instead of saying, I want to exercise more, say, I will exercise for 30 minutes every day at 7 a.m. The clearer the rule, the easier it is to follow. Specificity removes ambiguity and makes it harder to back out. 3. Make it non-negotiable. Treat your goals as mandatory. Once you've set your rules, make a commitment to yourself that you will follow through, no matter what. This doesn't mean you have to be perfect, but it does mean you must show up and do the work, even on tough days. 4. Create a routine around your rules. The best way to ensure that your rules stick is by integrating them into your daily routine. For example, if your rule is to exercise in the morning, set aside time each day for that activity. Over time, this becomes a natural part of your day, just like brushing your teeth or having a meal. 5. Hold yourself accountable. If you treat your goals as rules, you need to take personal responsibility for them. No one else is going to enforce your rules for you. You must be the one to hold yourself accountable. This means no excuses, no postponing, and no giving up. If you miss a day, get back on track immediately. How rules create results. The beauty of rules is that they eliminate the need for constant motivation. You don't have to wait for the perfect moment or rely on a burst of energy to get things done. When you treat your goals like rules, they become part of your identity. You don't have to try to do something. You just do it because it's what you do. The consistency created by following rules leads to results. Over time, you'll see the fruits of your efforts, whether it's better health, increased productivity, or personal growth. The small actions you take every day compound and create significant change. Success doesn't happen overnight, but with rules in place, you can ensure steady progress. The key difference between rules and wishes. The key difference between rules and wishes is that rules require action, while wishes are based on hope. Rules are active, while wishes are passive. When you treat your goals like wishes, you leave room for failure and disappointment. But when you turn your goals into rules, you create a system that doesn't depend on how you feel or what's happening around you. The focus becomes on action, not on waiting for the right moment. When your goals are rules, you stop negotiating with yourself. You don't question whether you feel like working out today or whether you have time to write. You just do it because it's part of your routine. This commitment to action creates the consistency necessary to achieve long-term success. Why this works. When you live by rules, you are not controlled by your emotions or moods. This creates a level of freedom that doesn't exist when you're constantly chasing motivation. Instead of relying on fluctuating emotions to guide your actions, you are guided by your commitment to yourself and your goals. This makes consistency more achievable and results more inevitable. By turning your goals into rules, you take full control of your progress. You stop waiting for motivation to appear and instead focus on the habits and systems that move you closer to your desired outcomes. The more you commit to following these rules, the more you reinforce the identity of someone who gets things done. regardless of how they feel in the moment. Conclusion: stop wishing and start living by your rules. If you want to create lasting change and build consistency, stop wishing for better habits or outcomes. Start living by rules that support your goals. Make your goals non-negotiable. Create a structure that supports them, and follow through every single day. When you do, you'll realize that consistency is not about motivation or emotion. It's about the rules you set for yourself and your commitment to living by them. By making your goals rules, you eliminate excuses and pave the way for true success. How to face the boring days and keep your consistency intact. When most people think about building consistency, they imagine a journey filled with excitement, motivation, and rapid progress. However, the reality of consistency is quite different. Most of the time, success isn't built during the exciting moments, but rather in the quiet, repetitive, and sometimes mundane days where nothing seems to change. The key to staying consistent is learning how to keep going, even when the work feels boring or unremarkable. The dangers of the boring days. It's easy to stay motivated when things are new and exciting. At the beginning of a project, goal, or habit, there's an energy and enthusiasm that pushes you forward. But as time passes, the excitement starts to fade, and the reality sets in. The work becomes routine, predictable, and at times, downright boring. This is the point where most people fail. They stop showing up because they mistake the absence of excitement for a sign that they're on the wrong path. The danger of the boring days is that they can create a mental trap. When you don't feel excited or inspired, it's easy to question whether the work is even worth it. You might start to think, maybe I'm not cut out for this, or this isn't as rewarding as I thought it would be. This kind of thinking can derail your progress and make it even harder to stay consistent. But the truth is, these boring days are a necessary part of the process. Growth, improvement, and success are built during the times when nothing seems to be changing, when you're just showing up day after day, doing the same thing, and trusting that it will pay off in the long run. Redefining success. It's about showing up, not feeling excited. One of the most important shifts you need to make in order to stay consistent is redefining what success looks like. Success is not always about big, exciting wins or bursts of motivation. Real success comes from the quiet, steady progress that happens when you continue showing up, even when nothing feels exciting. This is where true growth happens. Think about it. Most successful people didn't achieve their results through constant excitement. They achieved them by showing up consistently, even on the days when they didn't feel like it. Consistency is built through routine, repetition, and the willingness to keep going, even when the work feels tedious or monotonous. Instead of waiting for excitement or motivation to strike, train yourself to focus on the small actions that build your habits. It's not about how you feel on any given day. It's about what you do. And when you keep doing the work, even when it's boring, you begin to build something far more valuable than motivation. Discipline. Why routine and repetition are key to building consistency. Routine and repetition are the backbone of consistency. These are the tools that help you stay on track when motivation fades. By creating a daily routine, you remove the need for constant decision-making. Your actions become automatic, and you stop questioning whether or not you feel like doing them. The boring days are often when you're simply repeating actions that you've done countless times before. But these repetitions are the foundation for mastering any skill or habit. Whether you're working toward a fitness goal, building a business, or learning a new skill, the progress you make during the boring days is what leads to breakthroughs down the line. Embrace the process and focus on the journey. Another important factor in staying consistent during the boring days is shifting your focus from the outcome to the process. People often get discouraged when they don't see immediate results, but the truth is, results come over time. Success doesn't happen in an instant. It's the result of small, consistent actions that accumulate over weeks, months, and years. Instead of focusing on how far you are from your goal, focus on the progress you're making each day. Celebrate the small wins and take pride in showing up, even when it feels like you're not making noticeable progress. The key is to trust the process and understand that consistency will eventually lead to the results you want. Overcoming the desire for instant gratification. In today's world, we're often conditioned to expect instant gratification. We're used to quick rewards and immediate feedback. But when it comes to building consistency, there's no quick fix or fast track to success. The journey requires patience, persistence, and the ability to keep going when the rewards are not immediately visible. The boring days are a test of your patience. They challenge you to keep going, even when you're not seeing the immediate payoff. If you can learn to embrace the process and trust that consistency will eventually lead to results, you'll find it much easier to push through the tough times. Instead of seeking instant gratification, focus on long-term growth and the satisfaction of knowing you're putting in the work, day in and day out. The power of persistence, showing up, even when it's hard. One of the most powerful things you can do for yourself is to show up even when you don't feel like it. Persistence is what separates those who achieve their goals from those who give up. It's easy to stay motivated when things are going well, but true consistency is built during the tough days, the days when you don't feel like working, when you're tired, or when the progress feels slow. Persistence means continuing to show up, even when the results are not immediate. It means doing the work, even when it feels unexciting. It's about staying committed to your goals and trusting that, no matter how long it takes, your efforts will pay off. The more you show up during the boring days, the more you strengthen your ability to keep going, no matter what. Protecting your momentum. Don't let boredom break your streak. One of the biggest threats to consistency is the temptation to take breaks when things get boring. When you feel like the work isn't exciting anymore, it's easy to justify skipping a day or postponing your efforts. But missing even one day can be the start of a dangerous pattern. If you allow yourself to take breaks when it's boring, you may find yourself slipping back into old habits, and before you know it, you'll be back at square one. Protect your momentum by making a commitment to show up every day, regardless of how you feel. When you push through the boring days, you reinforce your consistency and make it easier to keep going the next day. Momentum is a powerful force. It propels you forward and makes it easier to stay on track, but it requires you to keep showing up, even when it's tough. Conclusion: consistency is built on the boring days. The truth about consistency is that it's not about chasing excitement or waiting for motivation. It's about showing up every day, regardless of how you feel. The boring days are the ones that truly build consistency. They're the moments when you prove to yourself that you are committed to your goals, no matter how monotonous the work might seem. By embracing the boring days, you learn to trust the process, focus on the journey, and keep moving forward, even when you don't see immediate results. Over time, the small actions you take each day will lead to significant growth. Consistency is not about perfection. It's about persistence and commitment. So, when the excitement fades, don't stop showing up, because it's during those quiet, repetitive days that you'll find the true power of consistency. How to shut down doubts before they control your actions. Doubt is a powerful force that can easily derail your progress and prevent you from achieving your goals. The moment you decide to make a significant change in your life, whether it's starting a new project, adopting a healthier lifestyle, or pursuing a career shift, doubt will inevitably show up. It doesn't ask for permission, and it doesn't wait for the right time. Doubt enters quietly, often in the form of small, subtle thoughts that question your abilities or the worth of your goal. If you don't confront these doubts early, they will grow louder, stronger, and more convincing. Doubt can paralyze you, causing hesitation and inaction. It can erode your self-confidence, make you question your decisions, and lead you to second-guess every step you take. This cycle of self-doubt can easily prevent you from following through and achieving the success you desire. But the good news is that you can learn to manage and overcome doubt by shutting it down before it gains traction. Why doubt appears in the first place. Doubt often arises when you step outside of your comfort zone or face new challenges. It's a natural response to uncertainty, and it's the mind's way of trying to protect you from potential failure or discomfort. When you try to do something important, something that could change your life, doubt tries to convince you that you're not capable or that failure is imminent. It makes you question whether you have the skills, knowledge, or strength to succeed. The problem is that this doubt is often based on fears that aren't grounded in reality. It magnifies your weaknesses and exaggerates your fears, causing you to believe that failure is a foregone conclusion. However, if you don't challenge these thoughts, they will continue to grow, affecting your ability to act and make progress. The danger of allowing doubt to grow. If you allow doubt to go unchecked, it will gain strength over time and begin to control your actions. You might find yourself hesitating, procrastinating, or even abandoning your plans altogether. Doubt can slowly shape how you see yourself. It tells you that you're not good enough, that you've failed before, or that you will fail again. The more you entertain these thoughts, the more they become a self-fulfilling prophecy. When doubt takes root, it affects your behavior. You start avoiding situations where you might experience discomfort or failure. You stop taking risks, stop pushing yourself, and stop believing in your ability to succeed. This can lead to missed opportunities and a life of unfulfilled potential. Ultimately, you begin to accept the belief that you're someone who doesn't follow through or accomplish their goals. How to challenge and shut down doubt early. The key to overcoming doubt is to confront it head-on before it has the chance to grow. Here are some strategies to help you challenge and shut down doubt early in its tracks. 1. recognize doubt for what it is. The first step in managing doubt is recognizing it for what it is: a temporary thought, not a truth. When you feel doubt creeping in, remind yourself that it's simply fear or uncertainty speaking. These thoughts aren't facts, and they don't need to control your actions. By acknowledging doubt as a passing feeling, you can take away its power. 2. Refocus on your goal. When doubt starts to creep in, take a moment to refocus on why you started in the first place. Remind yourself of the bigger picture, the purpose behind your goal, and the reasons why it matters to you. Reconnecting with your deeper motivation helps drown out the noise of doubt and reinforces your commitment to moving forward. 3. Challenge negative thoughts with evidence. Doubt thrives on negative, self-limiting beliefs. To counteract this, challenge your doubts with evidence of past successes or strengths. Think about times when you've faced challenges before and overcome them. Remind yourself of the skills, experience, and resources you already possess. If you've succeeded in the past, there's no reason you can't succeed again. 4. Take action, even when you feel doubt. One of the most effective ways to shut down doubt is through action. When you take action, even in small steps, you prove to yourself that you are capable of moving forward despite your fears. Action diminishes doubt because it builds confidence and creates momentum. The more you act, the quieter the doubts become. As you make progress, your belief in your ability to achieve your goal strengthens. 5. Interrupt the cycle of negative thinking. When you catch yourself entertaining doubts, interrupt the cycle of negative thinking. For example, if you find yourself thinking, "I'm not good enough to achieve this," immediately counter it with something positive. "I have the skills and determination to make this happen." By replacing negative thoughts with positive affirmations, you can redirect your focus and prevent doubt from gaining ground. 6. Focus on what you can control. Often, doubt stems from a fear of the unknown or a lack of control over the outcome. To combat this, focus on the things you can control: your actions, your attitude, and your commitment. Don't worry about the things you can't control. By focusing on what you can do, you empower yourself to take the necessary steps without being paralyzed by fear. 7. Surround yourself with support. If you're struggling with doubt, surround yourself with people who believe in you and your goals. Positive reinforcement from supportive friends, mentors, or colleagues can help drown out the voice of doubt. When you have a support system, you're reminded that you're not alone and that others believe in your ability to succeed. The power of moving forward despite doubt. It's important to understand that doubt will never fully disappear. Everyone experiences moments of self-doubt, but the difference between those who succeed and those who fail is how they handle it. Successful people don't eliminate doubt. They learn to manage it. They continue to take action, even when they're unsure or afraid. By taking consistent action, you train yourself to respond to doubt with confidence and resolve. Every time you push through a moment of doubt, you prove to yourself that you're stronger than fear. This builds resilience and mental toughness, making it easier to continue moving forward, even when challenges arise. Conclusion: take control of your mindset and move forward. Doubt will always be a part of the journey toward achieving your goals, but it doesn't have to control you. By recognizing doubt early, challenging negative thoughts, and taking immediate action, you can shut it down before it has the chance to take root. Every time you move forward, despite doubt, you build trust in yourself and your ability to succeed. The key to overcoming doubt is not to wait for it to disappear, but to act in spite of it. You have the power to control your mindset and your actions. When you take control of your thoughts and refuse to let doubt dictate your progress, you unlock the true potential within you. So, the next time doubt appears, don't entertain it. Instead, take action, move forward, and prove to yourself that you are capable of achieving anything you set your mind to. How to make consistency part of your identity, not just a strategy. Consistency is often viewed as something that can be achieved through tactics, plans, or bursts of motivation. Many people treat consistency like a short-term goal, thinking that it's a series of steps they can follow for a period of time to achieve a specific result. But what if consistency wasn't just a strategy or method, but a part of who you are? What if consistency was built into your identity, guiding you in every decision you make and every action you take? When you see consistency as an identity, it changes everything. It stops being something you try to do and becomes something you simply do. It's no longer about willpower or motivation. It's about who you are and the values that guide your life. Let's explore how you can make consistency an integral part of your identity and how it can lead to long-term success. The difference between strategy and identity. Most people approach consistency as a temporary strategy or a goal they need to achieve. They say things like, "I'm going to work on my fitness for the next 30 days," or "I'll stick to this plan for a month." But this mindset treats consistency as something that comes to an end. Once the time frame is over, or the task becomes challenging, people often give up because they've never fully committed to it as a part of their identity. When consistency is merely a strategy, you're always questioning whether to stick with it. You might try to keep going, but you leave room for excuses and distractions. The moment things get hard or you lose motivation, you give yourself permission to stop because consistency isn't embedded in who you are. It's just something you're trying to do. In contrast, when consistency becomes part of your identity, it's not about following a set of rules for a fixed amount of time. It's about living in alignment with your values and priorities every day. You no longer question whether to take action. You just do it because it's who you are. You don't try to be consistent. You simply are. Consistency is a reflection of your character. When you make consistency a part of your identity, it becomes a reflection of your character. You stop being someone who is always starting and stopping, and instead become someone who follows through, regardless of the challenges. It's about being dependable, reliable, and true to your word. Imagine how different your life would be if you saw yourself as someone who is consistent in everything you do. If you made decisions with the belief that you follow through, even when it's hard, how much more could you achieve? Consistency becomes a natural extension of your personality, a habit that you don't need to force. It's not about motivation anymore. It's about integrity and discipline. You do the work not because it feels easy, but because it aligns with who you are. The importance of aligning actions with identity. In order to truly make consistency a part of your identity, your actions need to align with who you believe you are. If you want to be consistent in your personal growth, health, or work, your daily actions must match that identity. It's not enough to say, I want to be consistent. You have to show up and act consistently every single day. Start by identifying the areas where you want to build consistency. Then ask yourself what kind of person you need to become in order to achieve that consistency. For example, if you want to be someone who is consistent in your fitness routine, you have to see yourself as a person who prioritizes their health and takes care of their body regularly. You begin to view exercise not as a chore, but as a natural part of your daily routine, because that's what someone who is committed to their health would do. Stop making excuses and start living your commitment. When you see consistency as a part of your identity, you stop making excuses for why you can't show up. Excuses are a sign that you're treating consistency as something temporary. When you're truly committed to being consistent, excuses don't have a place. You begin to make decisions based on your commitment, not your feelings or circumstances. The idea of I'll do it tomorrow or I'm not feeling up to it today disappears when consistency is part of your identity. You realize that tomorrow never comes, and the only time you can act is today. You show up, even on the days when it's hard or when you don't feel motivated. That's what builds real consistency and success. How to strengthen your consistency identity. To make consistency a permanent part of your identity, here are a few steps you can take. 1. Shift your mindset. Change the way you talk about consistency. Instead of saying, I'm trying to be consistent, start saying, I am consistent. Speak and think of consistency as a permanent part of who you are, not just a tactic or a short-term goal. Start small. If you're trying to build consistency in a new area of your life, start with small, manageable actions. This helps reinforce your identity as someone who shows up every day, even if it's just for a short amount of time. Small actions lead to big results over time. 3. Create routines and systems. Build routines around your goals that make consistency easier. For example, if you want to be consistent in your workouts, set a regular time each day to exercise. Consistency thrives in routine, and by making your actions automatic, you remove the need for willpower. 4. Hold yourself accountable. When consistency becomes part of your identity, you are your own accountability partner. No one needs to remind you to show up because you know it's your responsibility. Hold yourself to your word and be accountable for your actions, regardless of how you feel. 5. Celebrate small wins. Reinforce your consistency by celebrating the small victories. Each time you follow through on a commitment, no matter how small, recognize and appreciate your effort. This will help you continue reinforcing the identity of someone who is consistent. Building momentum by becoming consistent. As consistency becomes ingrained in your identity, you'll begin to notice that it's easier to keep moving forward. You'll stop questioning yourself or hesitating before taking action. Instead, you'll make decisions quickly, trusting that consistency is part of who you are. With each action you take, you build momentum. The more consistent you are, the easier it becomes to keep going. Momentum feeds into itself, and you'll find that the work becomes more natural, less effortful, and more rewarding. Conclusion: consistency is more than a goal, it's a lifestyle. When consistency becomes part of your identity, it no longer feels like a struggle. It becomes a lifestyle, a way of living that aligns with your values and your long-term vision. Consistency is no longer something you try to do. It's who you are. By making consistency part of your identity, you stop relying on external motivation and start building internal strength. You make decisions based on who you want to be, not how you feel in the moment. Over time, this identity will shape your life and propel you toward success, because consistency is the foundation of all achievement. You don't need a short-term strategy. You need a consistent lifestyle that pushes you forward day after day. When you live with this mindset, results will follow, and the consistency you've built will lead to long-term success. How to work like quitting is not an option. Many people find themselves stuck because they leave the option of quitting open. When the going gets tough, quitting becomes a tempting escape. It's easy to say, maybe this isn't for me, or I'll try again later. But the truth is, quitting is often the most convenient way out, and leaving that option open can prevent you from pushing through the difficulties and achieving your goals. The real challenge is not facing obstacles, but committing yourself to continue working regardless of the challenges, and to do so without ever entertaining the thought of quitting. Quitting isn't just something you do. It's a mindset, a mental escape route that often emerges when things get tough. To succeed, you need to adopt the mindset that quitting is simply not an option. Let's explore why working as if quitting isn't an option is the key to achieving long-term success, and how you can start applying this mindset in your own life. The power of eliminating the option to quit quitting is often the most accessible escape, but it's also the most dangerous. Every time you entertain the idea of quitting, you're allowing your commitment to weaken. You're telling yourself that when things get hard, it's okay to give up. But what happens when you don't allow yourself to quit? You begin to build resilience, perseverance, and mental toughness. You start to view obstacles as temporary and solvable, rather than insurmountable barriers. When quitting is no longer an option, you stop giving yourself a way out. Instead of constantly debating whether to continue or give up, you focus solely on what needs to be done. This shift in mindset makes the hard days more manageable and helps you stay focused on the long-term vision rather than the temporary discomfort. The role of mentality in consistency. Your mindset plays a crucial role in whether or not you will succeed in any endeavor. Many people fail because they rely too heavily on their emotions or external motivation to drive their actions. On good days, when motivation is high and things are going well, it's easy to keep pushing forward. However, when things get difficult or when your motivation wanes, That's when your mindset truly matters. If quitting is still an option in your mind, you're more likely to give up. When you adopt the mentality that quitting isn't an option, your actions stop depending on motivation or mood. You don't wait until you feel ready or excited to get things done. Instead, you push through regardless of how you feel, because you know that success is a result of showing up, even on the hard days. You build your mental strength by working, not when it's easy, but when it's difficult and inconvenient. The impact of eliminating backdoor exits. One of the most common reasons people quit is because they leave themselves an escape route. Whether it's the idea that they'll try again later or that they can always come back to the task, the option of quitting is still present. But the more you entertain this thought, the weaker your commitment becomes. It's easy to think, if I don't succeed today, I can always restart tomorrow. But this way of thinking only creates a cycle of starting and stopping. To break this cycle, eliminate all backdoor exits. Commit fully to your work, and do so with the mindset that quitting isn't a possibility. When you remove the option to quit, you shift your focus to the actions that will move you forward. You no longer waste time contemplating whether you should keep going. You just keep going. This commitment eliminates doubt and indecision, allowing you to focus on what truly matters. How to keep moving forward, even when it's tough. Working without the option of quitting doesn't mean that everything will be easy. In fact, it often means the opposite. You will face setbacks, challenges, and moments of frustration. However, it's in these moments that your mindset will be tested. When quitting is no longer an option, your goal becomes not to avoid discomfort, but to push through it. Here are a few ways to keep moving forward, even when it feels tough. Focus on the next step. When things seem overwhelming, break the task down into manageable steps. Instead of looking at the entire mountain, focus on taking the next small step. Moving forward, even incrementally, keeps you going and prevents you from feeling stuck. 2. Remember your why. Whenever you're tempted to quit, remind yourself of why you started in the first place. Reconnect with your purpose and the bigger picture. When you remember the value of your goal, it becomes easier to push through difficult moments. 3. Build mental toughness. Just like physical strength, mental strength is developed through practice. The more you work through discomfort and obstacles, the stronger you become. Each time you choose to keep going instead of quitting, you build resilience that will serve you in the future. 4. Take action, regardless of how you feel. Understand that your feelings aren't always reliable indicators of what needs to be done. Just because you don't feel motivated or excited doesn't mean you can't take action. Choose to act anyway. This commitment to action will carry you through the tough days and help you maintain consistency. 5. Celebrate progress, not perfection. On your journey, you may face setbacks or make mistakes. Instead of letting these obstacles discourage you, celebrate the progress you've made. Every small win counts, and acknowledging your progress will keep you motivated to continue. The long-term benefits of a no-quitting mindset. Working with the mentality that quitting is not an option brings long-term rewards. Not only does this mindset help you push through challenges, but it also strengthens your self-belief and confidence. The more you prove to yourself that you won't give up, the more trust you build in your ability to follow through, even in difficult situations. Moreover, when you stop allowing yourself to quit, you start to see progress. Small, consistent actions compound over time, leading to significant results. Whether you're working toward personal growth, professional success, or health goals, the no-quit mindset ensures that you're moving closer to your desired outcome every day, even if the progress is slow. The power of commitment and discipline. By eliminating quitting as an option, you strengthen your discipline and commitment. The focus is no longer on the external factors like motivation or circumstances, but on your internal resolve to keep going. You develop a sense of discipline that becomes an intrinsic part of who you are. This discipline drives you to show up every day, no matter the challenges, and to put in the work regardless of your emotions. Conclusion: never allow quitting to be an option. When quitting is not an option, everything changes. You stop second-guessing yourself, and you stop making excuses. You create a mindset that keeps you focused on the task at hand, not on the obstacles that may arise. By removing the backdoor exit, you ensure that success is inevitable, as long as you continue taking action. To build long-term success, commit to your goals with the mindset that quitting is simply not an option. Stay disciplined, stay committed, and always keep moving forward, no matter how tough the journey may be. When you adopt this mentality, you'll not only reach your goals, but you'll also develop the resilience and mental strength needed to overcome any challenge that comes your way. Conclusion: the power of persistence and commitment. In the journey toward achieving your goals, the most powerful decision you can make is to eliminate the option of quitting. When you remove the escape route and commit to your goals with unwavering persistence, you unlock the mental strength and resilience needed to overcome challenges. Consistency isn't about waiting for motivation to strike. It's about showing up and doing the work, no matter the circumstances. By adopting the mindset that quitting is not an option, you stop negotiating with distractions, excuses, and doubts. Every action you take, no matter how small, compounds over time and brings you closer to your desired outcome. The journey may not always be easy, but each step forward, especially during the tough days, strengthens your resolve and builds the character needed for lasting success. Commitment to your goals and discipline in your actions are what separate those who achieve greatness from those who give up halfway. So, remember, success isn't found in the moments of excitement or ease, but in the consistency of showing up day after day, no matter how hard it gets. When you decide that quitting is no longer an option, you will find the strength to persevere and create the results you desire, building a life defined by consistency, discipline, and the power of persistence.